King Kong. Just the name alone conjures images of a towering, fearsome beast standing against the modern world. A tragic figure swatting at biplanes atop the Empire State Building. But how did this colossal ape become such a cultural icon? Was he always the monster we know today? Or did his legend evolve over time, shaped by the fears, ambitions, and imaginations of each generation? The journey of King Kong is one that stretches far beyond the silver screen. His origins can be traced back to the early days of adventure literature, when stories of lost worlds and untamed creatures captivated readers eager for a taste of the unknown. In Edgar Rice Burroughs' The Land That Time Forgot, published in 1918, the seeds of Kong's legend were quietly planted. Though the novel itself did not feature a giant ape, its themes, civilization colliding with the primal wild, the allure of the unexplored, set the stage for what would come. The early 20th century was an era of fascination with the exotic, with expeditions venturing into the depths of uncharted jungles, bringing back tales of creatures both real and imagined. It was only a matter of time before such ideas found their way into cinema, and then in 1933 King Kong was born. Not in a jungle, but in the minds of filmmakers Marion C. Cooper and Ernest B. Schoedsack. Unlike anything audiences had ever seen, Kong was brought to life with groundbreaking stop-motion animation, making him both terrifying and strangely human. His eyes, filled with both rage and sorrow, told a story beyond mere destruction. He was not simply a monster. He was something more. An animal torn from his world, thrust into the chaos of civilization. The film's impact was immediate. The sight of Kong battling dinosaurs, his climactic fall from the Empire State Building, these moments became etched in cinematic history. But why has Kong endured while so many other movie monsters faded into obscurity? Perhaps it is because he is not just a creature of horror, but a symbol, a force of nature, untamed and unbroken, a reminder that some things are beyond human control. Yet, he is also a tragic figure. Unlike Godzilla, who was born from the atomic age and often depicted as a relentless destroyer, Kong's story is one of captivity, of being misunderstood. He is not driven by malice, but by instinct. He fights not to conquer, but to survive. And in his final moments, whether on the Empire State Building, the World Trade Center in 1976, or atop a snowy mountain in Peter Jackson's 2005 adaptation, he always meets the same fate. The world is too small for something as wild as Kong. Through the decades, Kong has been reborn again and again. In the 1976 remake, special effects took center stage, swapping stop motion for a full-scale mechanical Kong suit. Then, in 2005, Peter Jackson reimagined the tale with breathtaking CGI, delving deeper into Kong's character, portraying him not just as a beast, but as a creature with emotions, forging a bond with Ann Darrow that felt more real than ever before. In 2017's Kong: Skull Island, the ape was reintroduced with a fresh take. Larger than ever, more godlike, a ruler of his own domain in a world where monsters roam freely. As technology advances, Kong's form continues to evolve. CGI has given him more nuance, more detail, more realism. But does that make him more compelling? Or is there something about the rawness of the original, with its handcrafted movements and imperfections, that speaks to us more? And where does Kong go from here? Will he continue to grow in size, in scope, in spectacle? Or will his story take on new dimensions, exploring what it truly means to be a king of monsters? Beyond the screen, there is another question. Could Kong exist in reality? Science tells us that such a creature would be impossible. The physics of size alone would make movement a challenge, with bones too weak to support the weight of a creature, towering hundreds of feet high. The heart, the lungs, every function of the body would struggle under the strain. And yet, what if nature found a way? What if genetics, evolution, or even human intervention through genetic engineering made it possible? Would we be in awe, or would we fear what we had created? Perhaps that is the ultimate power of King Kong. He forces us to question not just the limits of science, but the limits of our own understanding. He is a legend that refuses to fade, a story that finds new meaning with every retelling. And as long as there are those who dream of lost worlds and creatures beyond imagination, Kong will always be there, waiting, watching, a king without a throne. There are monsters, and then there is King Kong, a name so deeply ingrained in popular culture that even those who have never seen a single film about him know exactly who he is. A colossal ape, a force of nature, a tragic legend. But what is it about King Kong that has allowed him to endure for nearly a century? Why does he continue to capture the imagination of audiences in a way that so many other movie monsters have failed to do? Perhaps it is because he is more than just a monster. His story is not simply one of destruction, but of awe, fear, and even sympathy. He is not the product of a laboratory experiment gone wrong, nor is he a malevolent creature bent on mankind's destruction. Kong exists in his own world, untamed and unbothered, until human ambition pulls him into ours. That clash between nature and civilization, between primal instinct and human control, is what makes his story so compelling. When King Kong debuted in 1933, audiences had never seen anything like it. The film's use of stop-motion animation brought Kong to life in a way that felt both real and fantastical. He wasn't just a puppet. He had expressions, emotions, a presence that made him feel alive. And despite being a creature of terror, there was something undeniably tragic about him. He wasn't a villain. He was a prisoner. Stolen from his home, paraded as a spectacle, and ultimately destroyed by a world that refused to understand him. That complexity is what has allowed Kong to evolve over time. In his earliest iterations, he was depicted as a savage beast, a monster to be feared. But as the years passed, filmmakers began to explore his character in new ways. The 1976 remake gave him a more emotional connection with his human counterpart. Peter Jackson's 2005 reimagining emphasized his loneliness, his longing for something beyond survival. And in Kong, Skull Island, 2017, he was no longer just a tragic figure, but a godlike guardian of his own realm. Beyond cinema, Kong's influence can be felt everywhere. He laid the foundation for the monster movie genre, inspiring everything from Godzilla to Jurassic Park. His image has been plastered on posters, toys, video games, and even album covers. Musicians have written songs about him, artists have painted him, and writers have reimagined his story in countless ways. He has become more than just a fictional character. He is a symbol. But a symbol of what? That depends on who you ask. To some, he represents the untamed power of nature, a force that cannot be controlled or exploited without consequences. To others, he is a reflection of human arrogance, a reminder of what happens when we overstep our boundaries. And for many, he is simply a creature who never asked to be part of our world, a tragic hero who was doomed the moment he set foot in civilization. No matter how he is interpreted, one thing is certain: King Kong is timeless. He continues to evolve, to inspire, to provoke thought and emotion in ways that few characters ever do. And as long as there are stories to be told, it is almost certain that Kong will find his place among them, towering above the city, fighting against his fate, forever the king of monsters. So what do you think? What does King Kong mean to you? Is he a monster, a hero, or something in between? Let's talk about it. There is something about King Kong that makes him more than just a movie monster. Maybe it's the sheer enormity of his presence, the way he dominates the screen with every step. Maybe it's the raw emotion in his eyes, the silent story told, through every roar, every glance, every tragic fall. Or maybe it's the fact that, despite being a fictional creature, Kong feels undeniably real. But how has he remained so iconic for nearly a century? Unlike many classic monsters, King Kong has never stayed the same for too long. His design, his movement, even his very essence have been reimagined time and time again, each era bringing a new vision of the legendary ape. From his stop-motion origins to cutting-edge CGI, the evolution of Kong's design is a testament to both technological advancements and our ever-changing perception of what makes a monster truly unforgettable. When King Kong premiered in 1933, audiences had never seen anything like it. Willis O'Brien, the mastermind behind the film's stop-motion animation, crafted a creature that was both terrifying and mesmerizing. Kong wasn't just a giant ape. He was a living, breathing force of nature. His fur bristled with movement. His eyes burned with primal rage, and despite the limitations of the time, his expressions carried an unexpected depth. He was, by all accounts, alive. But time marches on, and so did the advancements in filmmaking. By the time the 1976 remake arrived, Kong had shed his stop-motion origins in favor of a full-scale animatronic suit. The goal was realism, something more tangible, more physical. Though the effects of the time had their limitations, this version of Kong moved with a weight that stop-motion had struggled to capture. His fur looked softer, his muscles more defined. He was no longer just a monstrous brute, he had presence. Then came the digital revolution. The 2005 King Kong, directed by Peter Jackson, redefined what was possible. This was no longer just a visual effect, it was a performance. Using motion capture, Kong was given a new layer of depth. His eyes held sadness, his movements carried purpose, and for the first time, audiences didn't just see Kong as a beast. They saw him as a character. This version of Kong was lonely, desperate for connection, and more human than ever before. And yet, the evolution wasn't over. Kong. Skull Island 2017 gave us a different kind of King Kong, one that leaned into the mythological. Here, Kong wasn't just an animal. He was a god, a towering guardian of an untamed world. His design was bulkier, his posture more upright, his face more expressive. He wasn't simply an ape anymore. He was something greater, something ancient. But what makes the perfect King Kong? Should he be more beast than man, a force of primal chaos? Or should he be an emotional, almost tragic figure, someone we can sympathize with? His design has always reflected this question. His eyes, his fur, his posture. Every detail influences how we perceive him. Too monstrous, and he loses his relatability. Too human, and he loses his wild, untamed essence. Striking that balance is what has kept Kong fascinating for generations. Beyond film, Kong's image has transcended the screen. He has become an icon, his silhouette recognizable even to those who have never watched a single one of his films. He looms over comic books, video games, theme park rides, and even music albums. He is a pop culture legend, his story retold in different ways but always staying true to one core idea. Kong is bigger than life, both literally and figuratively. And as technology continues to evolve, so will Kong. The question is, what's next? Will future filmmakers push even further, creating a Kong more lifelike than ever before? Or will they return to his roots, embracing the rough, handcrafted charm of stop motion and practical effects? However he changes, one thing is certain: King Kong is here to stay. So what version of King Kong is your favorite? Do you prefer the raw, untamed beast of 1933? The tragic, emotional giant of 2005? Or the powerful god of Skull Island? However you see him, one thing is undeniable: Kong is and always will be the king. There is something both terrifying and mesmerizing about King Kong. He is not just a giant ape. He is nature itself, raw and untamed. He is the towering force that reminds us of our own insignificance, a living symbol of the wild world that existed long before us and will continue long after we are gone. But what is it about Kong that has captivated audiences for nearly a century? Why does he still hold such power over our imagination? Perhaps the answer lies in something older than film itself. Our myths, our legends, our deep-rooted fascination with creatures beyond our understanding. Every culture has its stories of monstrous beings lurking at the edges of civilization. The Himalayas have the Yeti, the jungles of Sumatra whisper of the Orang Pendek, and ancient folklore is filled with tales of massive, godlike beasts that rule the untamed lands. King Kong, in many ways, is the modern embodiment of these myths. He is the monster we fear and the god we respect, a reflection of nature's untouchable power. When Kong first appeared in 1933, he was more than just a spectacle. He was a symbol of the unknown. The world was in the midst of exploration, with uncharted islands and mysterious creatures still waiting to be discovered. People feared what they didn't understand, and Kong was a physical manifestation of that fear. He was a beast ripped from a lost world, a challenge to human dominance, a reminder that there were still things beyond our control. Over time, however, Kong changed. In later films, he was no longer just a savage monster. He became something more complex, He was still powerful, but he was also tragic. A creature torn from his home and thrown into a world that did not understand him. His story became a reflection of our own struggles with nature. Were we conquerors, destined to control and reshape the world as we saw fit? Or were we meant to coexist, to find harmony with the forces that created us? This duality of nature, as both magnificent and destructive, is what makes Kong so compelling. He is a protector of his world, a god of the untamed jungle, but he is also a force that cannot be contained. He does not seek destruction, yet wherever he goes, it follows. In many ways, he is not so different from the hurricanes, volcanoes, and earthquakes that shape our planet, immense, unstoppable, indifferent to human ambition. And yet, despite his immense power, Kong is not without emotion. His eyes, his gestures, his moments of hesitation, these remind us that he is not just a beast, but a living being. We fear him, but we also empathize with him. That is what makes him more than just another movie monster. He is not a mindless force of destruction. He is a creature with his own will, his own emotions, and his own tragedies. Kong's story also serves as a cautionary tale. Time and time again, humans try to control him, to exploit him, to bring him into their world, and every time it ends in disaster. His films are filled with warnings about our relationship with nature, about what happens when we try to bend it to our will, when we forget that we are not its masters. So, what does the future hold for King Kong? Will he continue to be a symbol of the untamed wild, a reminder of the power that lies beyond human reach? Or will his story evolve once again, reflecting new fears, new hopes, new questions about our place in the world? One thing is certain: Kong will never truly disappear. He will continue to loom over us, a giant shadow on the horizon, reminding us that nature is never truly conquered. Because in the end, no matter how much we build, how much we change, how much we think we control, nature will always have the final word.